Hey, hi guys, how's it going? How you doing today? Welcome guys to our Thursday sharpening classes. Glad to see you guys all back here today. Today, what we're going to start today, we are going to be doing 5 tips on, what was the 5 tips again?
On how to maintain your stones and strops.
Maintain your stones and strops. Good. I'm the perfect person for that. So we're going to go through the first little couple of half hour first. We're going to go through just like basic sharpening, show you guys how to just sharpen a basic knife for the first half hour. After that first half hour, we're going to take some questions after that. So if you guys have any questions about like sharpening or maintenance throughout the sharpening process, just put it on the chat, and then Owen will get back to me about your question there. And then at the end, we're going to give you guys a couple tips on like how to maintain your stones, as well as maintain using a strop as well. Okay, all right, guys. So to start off first, we're going to go through a series of different stones first. So if you guys are new to our stream here, and you guys have never sharpened a knife, this will be very helpful for you guys in terms of like determining what type of stones you guys need as your first set. So we have a couple to kind of get with. So the first stone that most of us start off with is usually that medium grit stone. And I have a couple for you to look at today. So let's grab a couple of my medium grits. So we have 1000 grit as like a really nice kind of all-rounder. Most people, when they start sharpening knives, they will typically start with an 1000 grit stone as their first. In that same ballpark range as a medium stone, you can also go for an 800 or even like something a little bit finer than that, to like around a 2000 grit, and that will really help to polish that, really get that edge formed on these guys. So if you're looking for just one stone, these are fantastic. For today, we're going to be using our good old-fashioned Knifewear 1000 grit stone. This is one we sell in-house. We do all the time, and these guys are fantastic for anybody who is starting off with sharpening. These guys cut really quickly. They also create a lot of mud, and they work fantastically. But a lot of people who are new to this, definitely a favorite for a lot of people. So we're going to be using that one first. So that's our medium grit range of stones there. Moving on to the other stones that we have. So it depends on like on how you want to sharpen your knife. We have a couple of different grits you want to get into. So if you find that you're sharpening your knife with the German steel and it's taking a bit of time with that 1000 or the medium grit stone, then you typically want to go into maybe a lower grit stone, something that's going to eat away the steel a bit faster. Typically around like 220 or even like a 400 or 600. So in this case here, we have our Knifewear Professional 400. We even got these really rough stones. These are really inexpensive ones. We sell them for about $10 each. These are nitty-gritty lobster stones. They grind down quickly, they cut quickly, but they wear down quickly as well. So these guys are great for if you're just looking for like a toss-around stone to kind of utilize. In our case here, for what we're doing today, we're going to be using our good old 220 Knifewear stone. This guy is fantastic for just grinding away steel. It cuts a little bit slower than this guy. Doesn't create as much mud, but this guy is very easy to work with as the first stone. Doesn't clog up very quick, easily, and it cuts pretty quickly. So that's all you really need out of a coarse stone like that. So we're going to be using our Knifewear 220, Knifewear 1000. And then we need something to kind of finish it on too, right? So a Japanese steel, because it's a bit harder in terms of material, you can refine that edge up to a higher fineness of steel stone. If you're using something like a German knife, typically you want to keep it on the lower end, around like 800, 1000, 2000. That medium grit range, which really helps with a bit of more toothiness to that blade, right? And you don't want to refine it too much, or else you're going to lose that edge faster for those type of steels. So what we're going to be sharpening today is we're going to be sharpening a Katafusa Hochikodo.
Love that knife, right?
Man. So this guy can go up to like an 8,000, about a 4,000, 6,000 grit finish. So that's where we're going to be at. And so in this case here, we're going to use our Knifewear 4000 grit stone. This guy, we have it for about 69 bucks. Really great stone. Really nice, fine and smooth, and really cuts really nicely too. It gives a really nice shine and luster to the edge. Yeah, we're going to be using those 3 stones, all my first stones today. So nothing crazy, but just really good quality stones. And then in the future, if you want to get like a hardwood stone, 8,000, 10,000, or anything like that, you should have the right type of steel. At the same time, if you want to take your carbon steels up to 8,000, go on ahead. It's a lot of fun. No one's going to stop you. No one should tell you how to do stuff.
Except for you.
Except for you, yeah.
Yeah, you should be. No, you. Yeah, it's you.
Me, exactly.
Yeah, you should listen to Francis.
You should listen to you guys. All right. So let's get started here. So the first stone I'm going to get into would be my 220 stone. So I'm going to take my 220 stone, and this guy has been soaking in my large bucket for a good amount of time now. So I'm going to take the stone, and I'm just going to soak it a little underwater here. And a way that you can tell if it needs to be soaked in your bucket here is if it starts to bubble or make a little bit of sound. Usually you can hear a little bit of fizzing after a little point. Once you take it out, the water should sit on top of the stone for a good amount of time before it starts to dry out. Sometimes you get a really dry stone that's not to be soaked. You put water on top of it, it just dries out and sucks up all the water like a sponge, right? So that means that you need to soak it for at least 15-20 minutes before you start. All stones are the same. In terms of like how you can determine if it's needs soaked, right? It's just make sure that you have a bit of pool of water on top of it before you start sharpening, right? Okay, so we're gonna take our 220 stone, and we're going to figure out what type of angle we're going to do. So we have a couple of different pieces. We have our nickel trick. Nickel trick's the easiest way of doing it, just because I'm pretty sure everybody can go through the couches and probably find like 25 cents worth of like nickels. So you place 3 nickels on the stone just like that, and then the one spacer nickel just is determined like a little bit of a distance from the edge of the knife here. You can also, instead of using a nickel spacer, you can use your thumb, just like that. Just like that, right? And then that way you can just drop it onto the pennies, into the nickels there. You can go for a lower angle if you want to drop that to 2 nickels, or you can go to a 1 nickel, but that's a very low angle, right? But you can play with it as however you want. In terms of the angle though, like if the most important part of sharpening is just basically consistency, right? So the more consistent you are in terms of maintaining that angle, the better the results are going to be. So you always want to make sure that that you're keeping the angle as steady as possible. Don't worry about what angle you're at, just make sure that you're as steady as possible, and that will give you the best possible results. Okay, so we're going to do our right side first. So our right side of the knife, we're going to just hold the handle from in front of me and then the tip away. And then this is my right side here. So hold it like that. That's how I usually hold my knife, right? Nice firm grip, 3 fingers around the handle, a little choil area in the back with your finger, and then you're usually pinching up the blade. The other 2 fingers are applying pressure directly on top of the stone. So that's where you apply pressure to the stone where you want to sharpen, and that's where you guide the knife up and down the stone, right? So usually this is just holding the angle nice and steady. This is going to apply pressure and move the knife up and down, okay? So once you get the angle all sorted out, then you just want to start with placing the knife on the stone there. The way that I start is I typically do the tip of the blade first. So a lot of people find that the tip is the heart. So why not start with that area first? Some people do the back end and then work your way all the way down to the tip. You can also do that as well. I just find this a little bit easier. Okay, so 2 fingers right at the tip of the blade. And then what you want to do is your elbow. So elbow, so I see that there, is I'm just going to lift it just very, very, very slightly, right? So you see this is a little bit higher up than the elbow on this side here. And that way you can get to the very tip of the blade. And then as you sharpen, you can lower down your elbow towards the very back heel. You can see my arms are the same height now, okay? So when you're doing the tip, higher up with a bit of angle, and then at the bottom, nice and even, okay? So we're gonna do the tip first. Tip at the blade, 2 fingers pressure. I count about 10 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You can go nice and slow. You don't have to go super quick. Just make sure that you're maintaining the same angle. As soon as you do 10 times, move your fingers down towards the next slope position here, which is about an inch down from the tip here. And continue on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Right? And then continue to move, advance your fingers down the blade road of the knife there. Okay, and you can always count in your head there. You also don't need to count all the way to 10. It just gives you more consistency in terms of how much strokes you're doing. You continue to do it 10 times all the way until your 2 fingers are touching your thumb there, or you get to the very heel or back end of the knife here. Or sometimes what we call, what Owen calls the chin.
Is that wrong? Is it wrong to call it the chin?
This is kind of weird. I call it the heel, but you call it more of the chin most of the time.
Jordan, when you hear me talking about the chin of the knife, you know what I'm talking about?
I know what you're talking about, but that's not my personal.
It's a perfectly cromulent term as far as I can tell.
All right, so regardless of what you guys call it, the heel or whatever, once you guys' fingers get to the very end here, that's when you stop, and then we're going to look for a burr. The burr is essentially just it's just like a wire edge that's right at the very edge of the knife as you sharpen, right? So what you're trying to do is you're trying to create an apex, right? Just right at the very edge of it. Once you grind away one side, the very tip is going to get very loose, and it's going to start to kind of fold over the other side, creating a burr, which is like a little hook. So the side that touches the stone, the other side, you can actually brush your fingers from the very center of the knife and then right away from the edge. You can start to feel a little bit of that catch on the blade, right? So in this case here, I feel a lot in the tip end. I did it quite a bit, but it starts to kind of fade away in this low belly areas, right? So I feel like it here and then that right there. That's around this top end part here. That's when it starts to kind of feel a little bit weak. So I'm gonna apply my pressure here and start to sharpen that area. Okay, so up and down for 10 times. And then same thing, I'm just gonna run my fingers down towards the very back end heel area just to see where it's at. And then I'm gonna give it a couple of checks again, just to see where that burr is. So I don't feel anything yet, but it's established a burr a little bit higher up already. So I'm just gonna go a little bit lower and continue to sharpen as usual. Okay, so as soon as I sharpen a couple of times, get to the very heel, you can start to feel a bit of that burr kind of start to form, right? So once I feel comfortable and that burr feels very consistent from the tip of the knife all the way to the very back, I'm just gonna flip it on to the next side here, okay? So flipping on the next side, 2 fingers to teal. I'm not doing anything different. I'm just going to do the exact same process, lifting up my elbow the same way, and just doing the back side. And the same thing, just counting from the 10 count from the tip, and then moving my fingers down 1 inch at a time, going down towards the very heel of the blade.
What's your question there, Corey? He has a question about tip sharpening. Pop it in there.
Yeah, definitely. If you guys got a question about tips, we're doing tips right now. So if you guys got a question about tips, you guys can help us here. Okay, moving on down. So I'm just checking my blade here. I don't feel a burr until like right around there. So that's where I'm going to place my pressure in. Continue to sharpen that area.
That's actually a pretty good point. Worth pointing out is that the level at which you are sharpening, like the actual level, yeah. Mr. Usyk is saying that as he gets older, that level has gone up and up and up over time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Make yourself comfortable.
Yeah, make yourself comfortable. This is my bucket height. We've been trying to figure out how to do this for a long time. This is the other bucket height. But you can also see, like, when you're moving your arms, it moves more laterally like this. You can see my arms. Where you're at the bottom, you can actually swing your knives a little bit more. You see that? Like how my arm swings up, and where if I'm more leveled, I can keep it more straight, right? So that helps with more stability as well. Okay. Right, so I just did both sides of the blade. Both sides had a burr. Moving now from my 220. Any questions about my 220 so far? We're moving on.
Yeah, if you got questions about what we're doing right now, just go ahead and pop them in. Francis is more than happy to give you some more in-depth explanations.
If you guys have a question about 220, you guys can ask that away. In the meantime, we're just going to move on to 1,000 grit. So we have our 1,000 grit stone right here. So we're just going to prep this up here. So sometimes you need to clean it up once in a while. This one is essentially pretty dirty. You can see the little black spots and lines to it. So what we're going to do is we're going to grab one of our handy dandy little, we call it a Nagura stone here, right? So it's essentially like a 600 grit block that's very, a bit abrasive. It's like a medium grit stone, which is going to help to kind of lift all those particles out, right? So I'm just going to grab a couple of passes. And that's going to help me clean it up a little bit. You see that? And that is a good way to determine to see if you are not really having a super flat stone. It'll start to kind of feel like it's hard to push around a lot of the time. You can start to see that black grit get lifted off, clean off itself, right?
I actually never knew that was a viable thing on lower grit stones. I thought it was usually the super smooth ones that get clogged easily.
You can, definitely. 1000 is definitely usable up to 800 or so. Once you get past the 600, it's not really a purpose because
it's kind of productive, right?
Yeah, at around 600, you don't really see that the stones clog up at that point. So there's not really a point to really use those ones for those lower grit stones.
I guess so. Tip number one.
Tip number one.
Get yourself a Nagura stone. Yeah,
definitely. Very helpful in terms of maintaining that surface there. It also helps with building a bit of that mud, and that mud is very good for sharpening because it gives you a very even sharpening. So go ahead and use that Nagura stone. Okay, so just cleaned my knife. Stone is ready for prepped up. Repeating the same steps I did with 220. There is no difference. The only thing, if you were to say go from a 220 to 1000, there's not a lot of work you have to do because a lot of the edge has been established. All you're really doing now is just refining that edge now, getting rid of all the little tiny micro scratches along the blade, and getting it really sharp, right? So there's not much you have to do with these guys. After a couple passes, you can probably feel the burr can get established really quickly, and then onto the other side, right?
So Corey's got a question about tip sharpening, and I think I know what his problem is. So you got a Takamura, it's crazy thin tip out of the box, almost needle-like. But after a few sharpens, it has more of a normal tip. Any tips about how to get it back to that needle-like tip?
Needle-like tip. So like it's just that angle of sharpening, right? So like basically just when you're doing the tip of the blade, it almost feels like you're isolating just like that 1 millimeter or 2 millimeter at the tip there. So you gotta have to curve it. It almost sees like when you're striking on the stone here. So get a closer angle on the stone here and show you. So right here, once you get into the tip here, you can see that my stone creates a very thin line across, right? It's almost very minimal. Where if I go a little bit lower, you can see that the line gets a little bit thicker, a little bit more easy to see, right? That means that I'm doing this from this bottom part here. So if you lift it just a little bit, you can get that very thin tip that you're looking for probably, right? So
another thing, I think he might actually be lifting too much and raising the tip a little bit too high towards the stone, and it's rounding it a little bit more.
Yeah, I caught that the little nick tip.
The nick tip.
Yeah. We'll keep that to ourselves.
Yeah.
Right. So once you guys get to the 1000, good question though there, Corey. Really appreciate it. Getting into the 1000 again, just to the other side. So there's no difference from the 220 to 1000. If you were to have just the 1000 as your stone, you do have to look for the burr as well as grind and keep a very maintained steady angle. So that's one thing you have to do extra that you don't have the 220. So just keep that in mind. Once you're pretty happy with that guy, the one extra thing I like to do with my 1000 is just strop it, right? Stropping on the stone. Tip 2, stropping on the stone, right? So instead of just using the strop here, you can strop on the stone of the blade. So just taking the tip and just dragging it off, and that knocks off all the burrs. So you can really tell if you got the edge to however you want. Just feeling both sides. You can feel brush both sides to see if it burr. It should be knocked off at this point. So you're gonna get a much cleaner edge as soon as you move on to the next stone, which is a nice part of it. Take the 1000.
Whoa, hey, ho.
That is done.
Yeah.
Okay. So moving on to the next stone here. This is my 4000 grit Knifewear stone. So this is a lot finer. There's almost very minimal sound that comes out of this guy. As well as one thing I've been doing a lot is I take my water off my bucket and I put it on top of here. That's obviously something you want to avoid. You want to use fresh, clean water out of somewhere else, right? So you're not contaminating all that stuff with cobblestone here. So after a couple passes here, we are going to just kind of look at it. And this guy has some pretty sharp corners, right? So maintaining tip number 3, we're going to grab a chewing stone here, and we're going to round off the corners of the stone. Especially a finer stone, they can chip and round a bit more. So just rounding off the corners helps to kind of save it so it doesn't chip as easy, as well as you're not going to cut your fingers as easily too. I've done that once in a while.
It's not a pleasant
It's
feeling.
not a funny thing. It's not a fun thing. I think I did it today. My little nick on the thumb there. Pretty painful. Okay, you also want to do some of the corners there, right? So if you guys don't have any of this stuff here, you can take the stone here and just run it off like that on the corner, right? You're just rounding off the corner, so you just maintain it so it doesn't chip and get any worse than that. You can see on my 220 Knifewear Crusader stone has a little chip in the corner there. Then that's because I had a really sharp corner to them.
Just a real quick interjection, AJ. The Naniwa Snow White 8000 is the same as our Naniwa Knifewear
The more you know.
8000, and it is amazing.
The
Yeah.
more you know. Perfect. Getting to the 4000 now, so I'm just going to continue with the angle sharpening that I did with the first 2 stones and continue with these guys. So this is going to be a very, very quiet type of stone now. It's almost non-existent here. I don't know if you guys can hear that. I got the mic a little bit closer there. Okay, and you just want to do it until it starts crackling really nicely. Okay, and when you're doing these guys, they don't tend to create a very large burr because they're such fine stones. So the way that you can determine them is just place the knife up and just flick it to one side, right? So if the burr is on one side, you can feel the burr more. And flicking it the other way, it should be a little bit smoother, right? So that's how one way you can determine the burr. So just a little bit, we go to pop in, just gonna do a couple more passes, right? Very light pressure. You want to develop some of this mud on the stone there, and just pass it on the stone very, very, very lightly, just to polish that edge. If you put a lot of pressure, you're gonna create a deep scratch into it, which is not gonna refine it as well as low pressure. Just very light pressure across. Okay, and there you go. And that's pretty much it. So I'm gonna give it a couple little taps, check figure out where that burr sits, and then from there, just gonna wipe it down, and then just strop a couple times up and down that stone there. Okay, you can strop any way you want. You can strop on the stone from heel to tip, away from the edge, like spreading peanut butter, or you can do it from tip, heel to tip, and then do it towards the edge. There is no real big difference, I find. It's a very minimal difference. I prefer to do it away from the edge. I get better results out of it, but if you go towards the edge and you get better results that way, more power to you. There's no right or wrong answer, honestly, I think. Okay, so once you get that done, we're moving on to the next step, which is basically just gonna be stropping, right? So I showed you guys a stropping method on the stone here. One other method that you can do is grab yourself a copy of the newspaper, right? And what you can do is you can just place the newspaper on the stone there, and you can strop on the newspaper. If you don't have any stropping mechanism, this is a great way. The newspaper just picks all the bits and the bits off, the burrs off the blade there, and you get it left off with a really nice edge to it. So that's one way you can strop. And from there, you can actually see, let's give it a little twist there. Really nice.
Pretty sharp.
Really nice.
Pretty sharp knife you got there.
Right. So another way of stropping, if you guys don't have some newspaper, is just grab a piece of, well, we grab ourselves like a piece of denim jeans actually. This is a pair of jeans that Jordan actually used to own, and we just cut off one little pant leg.
Yeah, he was still wearing them while we cut him off
We
too.
just,
Yeah.
Snipped right off.
Yeah.
He has one leg covered.
That's an exclusive show, sorry.
And it's the same thing. The leather and the denim really helps to pick up the burr. You just want to stretch it on something nice and hard, and that can pick up the burrs the exact same way, right? Now, if you want to get real fancy, you get a leather one, right? So leather has a really nice pose construction. Let me get a real leather here. So we have one like this is a Latigo leather, and it has a suede backing. The suede is really nice, but you can actually load up with a bit of what we call chromium oxide, which is this green block of compound here, right? And that is a super fine material, which helps to kind of shine up the blades, which can be applied here. Knifewear makes this kind of standalone leather strap here too as well, which is a really nice kind of design. This is just a bench strap which you put on the table, and has a really nice leather on the front end, which really helps this prop here as well. Okay, so that's stropping tips number 3 there, using jeans and other materials, right? And yeah, so you can use really anything. I think in Calgary, if you ever watched Naoto's show, Naoto loves to apparently use jeans, and he goes through multiple kinds of jeans, and he just does it away like that. Unfortunately, this is not real jeans, and this is just super stretchy stuff. I don't actually wear jeans.
Jeggings, I believe.
Jeggings, yeah, exactly. I'm just really I have a really fat face, so I don't wear very much jeans, but I do have a pair of jeans. But yeah, you can use jeans if you however you like to. You can also use balsa wood too. I think that's better for sure for straight razors. But yeah, you try out a bunch of other things. You'll have a lot of fun with stropping.
So I guess that sums up our. Oh, we should probably true a stone.
Well, true a stone.
Yeah, you need to true a stone. Yeah.
5, true a stone here. So
yeah, this is an important one.
This is the last little tip here, and then we'll get to you guys' questions as soon as we can here. So truing a stone is really nice in terms of like keeping the stone flat as much as possible. I got this great example of this Kensho 3000.
Oh, I used the hell out of that today, and I did not clean it at all, just for you, Francis.
Jordan, do you have a pencil?
Sorry?
Do you have a pencil?
Pencil, that should be.
You are going to look for a pencil. Yeah. Sharp enough, good enough. Okay, so I got a fine, exquisite HP pencil. Right. We are going to take our stone here, and I'm going to show you guys here. I'm going to use the pencil to just draw some grid lines, maybe a happy face right down the middle, right there, so you guys can see very easily. And we're just going to scribble some more lines on top of the stone there. Okay, this stone is very dirty, so you probably don't even have to do that. You can grab 2 stones. You can grab your truing stone, which is like a silicon carbide solid block, which helps to kind of flatten out your stones. And then we also have our diamond truing stone. Diamond truing stone is much faster, they're much flatter. If you don't wear down as evenly as the silicon carbide stuff, but they are about 4 times to 5 times the price of a diamond one. I mean, silicon carbide one. So I always prefer these guys because you can have them for a lot longer. So they're well worth the price. And they also just cut faster too, which is, a plus for everybody. So we're getting into our truing stone here, and I'm just gonna simply place my truing stone up and down on the stone here, and then give it a couple passes up and down. So as I'm doing the truing, we can see how much material Owen used and never flattened. There we go. You can see how uneven that is.
Yeah, look at that.
You love to use that middle,
yeah,
didn't you?
I was polishing a couple of Koishi cores on that.
Yeah. This guy is a great low stone. Are we selling these guys yet?
They're up on the website. We don't see a whole ton of them. It's a really small producer who makes the Kensho stuff.
Yeah. You guys are amazing. If you guys really got and get into like wide bevel polishing and getting that Kasumi finish, this is the ideal stone for that.
Yeah, they're just excellent for polishing core steel. Over time,
you can see it's starting to really clean itself in. So it's usually now just that right line down the middle there. So that's kind of the reason why they have like a truing stone like that with the grooves into them, so they don't. Because if I were to put this flat surface onto this, there's no way for that air to escape in the middle there, right? So they create those channels so that you can freely move that stone up and down without any trouble whatsoever. Okay, so after a couple passes, I'm going to fix up some sticks.
Hey, hurry up, Francis.
Done. Okay, so you can see it's a good clean stone.
Yeah.
Look how pretty that is. And just like what I was saying earlier ago, we want to chamfer the edges here because they're really nice and sharp. So 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1 from the front, and then 1 on each corner. Perfect. All right, so that's a nice clean stone, and there you go. Pretty much good to go. All right. And that's tip number 5, guys. Just drew down your stones and make sure to round off your corners as you do it. Okay. Perfect.
Let's talk a little bit about strop maintenance. We have some horror stories of strops that we can show you guys, man. So don't be like us. Be better.
Yeah, our strops are mangled here. Let's show a couple of examples here. So we clean up our strops. You can actually clean up your strops once in a while, especially if it's made of leather. We use a bit of kind of some slime steel wool to kind of clean the one that's the strop. That one gets pretty dirty, basically. That was a little funky, yeah. Ones that get really, really smooth at some point, right? The leather, you want to take good care as much as possible. Here we have a lot of we sharpen a lot of knives, so our strops get kind of mangled once in a while. But yeah, once in a while these guys, you just don't want to go too fast, right? You want to go nice and slow. So I'm going to show you guys a couple of techniques to kind of strop. And this kind of is going to help you in terms of nicking and making sure you don't damage really quick. So a couple of ways that I did before that damaged it is I like to go really fast, right? Like I should go, and sometimes when I just don't think about it, especially when I'm going this fast, I'll just pick up and I'll just nick into the top here, and that's how that whole strop part right here is all mangled up. That kind of sucks.
Yeah, these strops are at least several minutes old. They've been around for a while.
Yeah, this is older than I am. This has the old Knifewear logo on this.
Yeah,
so
look at
this
that.
guy has been longer than I have, right? One thing you'll probably notice too is our strops, right, has a bunch of little nicks on the bottom, little neck there, little lines there, all over this guy, and that's actually a technique that we like to use too. We actually take our blades, and sometimes if you have some really tough burrs on the blade, we would take the power strop, and this is straight wood. We would just pass the knife just like that, right? Just straight onto the wood with almost minimal amount of pressure, just like that, right? And that's gonna help to knock the burrs, right? And then when you go on to actual stropping, you're gonna get a much cleaner edge on the indent. We actually have this guy here. This is a water buffalo one. Right back here.
You dork.
And then it has little fibers on the top here. So this is kind of has the same thing as a wooden one, and just kind of picks it all up here. So that's why we have a water buffalo one too.
Okay. Hey, buddy.
Later, Jordan. Okay. Working on to the next strop here. So another couple of stropping techniques that you can get into is other techniques. So there's something called a gauge strop too as well. So that some people find that they poke into their strops because they're pointy tips, right? So a way you can avoid that is when you start off by both brushing the tip of the blade away from the tip, and then do transition into the rest of the belly, and then upwards like that, right? And that's kind of weird, right? We call it a J stroke. So down, and then to the rest of the belly, and then you can do the same thing with this here, right? Just kind of a nice S curve going upwards, right? And that way you don't poke into your strop. So that's another way you can do it. You've probably seen maybe a number of people do it the same way, and that's because they don't want to poke into their strop, right? Sometimes if you go down here, you don't have to do the gauge strop down your stroke. I like to use from the heel and then go towards the tip like that, right? And then when I'm going down towards the tip, I'll do the J stroke like that, towards the bottom, towards the heel. Okay, So that's another method that you can use to strop, right? Many different ways. You can do it in sections just like this, where you go tip only. I like to do that if I'm really focusing on one area, and then throughout the whole blade here, just like that, and then flip on to the other side. And same deal. Okay. And it takes a little bit of practice. Keep the same, maintain the angle. Do not go like that, right? That didn't sound good, right?
I hated that.
Right? It doesn't sound good. It creates a much higher noise. It also creates like a tone of ping too. This will round out the edge. Primarily because like if you applied some of that chromium oxide is still an abrasive. It can round out the edge just the way like a stone does, but at a very, very, very slow pace. So you want to be careful how you round out the edge. Just go nice and maintain the angle, just like you're sharpening on a stone. Nice, maintained angle. Okay. So that's another technique you can use too. If you have a problem with like if it's not sharp enough or anything like that. Okay. Okay.
How do you maintain the leather on a strop? What should you do with it every now and then?
I just keep it clean. I would say. Like you can do some like leather conditioning once in a while. We don't do a lot here.
Yeah. We could probably sand that one down a little bit too.
Yeah. You can get some really fine sandpaper. I usually get about like maybe about 600, and just kind of clean it up once in a while. Like this is a very dirty. I see it camera right
yeah,
there.
that looks gross. We should probably sand that down.
Yeah.
Let's get Jordan to do it.
Let's get Jordan.
Let's get Jordan to do it.
Yeah. Maybe one day.
He likes-
doesn't know it. He doesn't know it. He's gonna do it.
He likes standing there and sanding stuff.
I got some other things here too that you can use. So we have some. I got some 00 fine steel wool, right? So if you find like if it's starting to clog up a bit, you can also just clean it up with this fine steel wool. Get the camera closer here, actually. I'll show you a bit here. Okay, so I'm gonna clean up a bit.
Oh, look at that.
There you go. Right? And then like it's gonna feel rough, and that's okay. Because really you're just gonna get through all that grime and grit that's been plugged in there. We're humans. Like when we use our materials, it's probably like how the average person is gonna use it too. So eventually, I think your strop is gonna look like this at some point. I'm not perfect. I'm not like an angel that keeps everything in peak condition.
I think you're pretty good.
I'm pretty good.
Yeah, I think you're pretty good.
I'm perfect. Imperfect. Not even perfect. Right. So once in a while, you always have to clean it up. Right. Sometimes you get some people who are just really good at cleaning, just keeping good care of the materials. I, for one, am not all one of them. I'm terrible with my stuff. You should see the condition of my knives. They're terrible. But I work in a knife shop, so I can sharpen my knives and take care of them however I want. Right, Whitland?
Yeah, you certainly can.
I can.
Yeah.
Right. So you can start to see. It's kind of strop there. It's nice and clean. You can see the top part here is still a little bit dirty. It has that nice like glossy sheen to it, which is sometimes it doesn't really contact the knife blade. It just kind of slides in there, where the rest of it actually kind of grabs and actually gives you some subtle feedback to stropping, which is real nice. I do not recommend stropping this way because I have like cut into my fingers.
Yeah, watch your thumbs there, homie.
Whew. Scary. That's pretty cool, right? So yeah, just keep on cleaning it, and then the last thing I like to do is I like to heat up the leather and basically moisturize it with a bit of mineral oil once in a while, and that helps kind of give it a little bit more of a supple feel to it. But yeah, just take care of it. Once in a while, sand it down. You don't have to do this, but if you're looking to maybe clean it up once a day, this is a good method to use.
So, what are the 5 tips?
What are the 5 tips?
What do we
got
say?
5 tips.
Yeah.
So tip number 1 was just using the grissom.
Mm-hmm.
Tip 2 was our stone. So getting into chamfering the edges and whatnot, making that's nice and cool. Step 3 is you can use whatever type of leather you want. You can use any type of material, right? So, but just kind of keep it in the main nice angle to these guys and play with a lot of different materials. You're not bound to one type of material. Right?
Yeah, try out some different stuff.
Yeah. Tip four. What's tip four? Tip four is using the pole technique. So once in a while, you do need to do this to kind of get rid of a lot of bigger burrs. If you have a bamboo sink bridge, you can do the same thing, right? But just any of these natural materials to remove the burr, just so that it's a lot easier to strop the material.
Yeah, and just love your strop.
Yeah, exactly.
Just love it. Take your time.
Tip five. What was it? Tip five.
I can't remember now. This is your show, buddy.
Shoot. Tip five. I should make it tip five right now. Tip five would be to. I don't know tip five. What was it? Tip five. Tip five was just chewing down my stones.
Oh, don't soak your stones if they don't need to be soaked. That's a good tip for taking care of your stones.
Oh yeah.
That's a huge one that we should have mentioned way earlier.
Oh yeah, actually, yeah. You can see like right here, we don't actually soak these guys for any period of time. We actually keep them out of water. We have ones that just live in water because they're made to designed to sit there for a very long time. So just make sure that you read particular manufacturer's recommendation on soaking, or just ask the people who sells it to you. They usually know. But yeah, if you typically like anything more than like 1,000, you probably have to. Anything 1,000 lower, you probably have to soak. Anything higher than like a 2,000, typically you don't have to soak it for a very long time at all, right? So it's all depending on the maker of the stone that would determine it. Yeah. Yeah. Other than that, looking pretty good here. All right. Do you have any questions so far?
We had a quick question from our buddy Morgan. He wants to know, how did we start the shop and who are the original founders? Morgan, I got a Knifewear television show for you. We have a show featuring Kevin Kent, who is the showrunner here at the shop. He is the founder. Him and our buddy Chris Lord. They do Sharp Knives 101. Knives 101. Right, yeah. And they'll let you in on all the secrets about how this whole place got started. Talk to Kevin. He's an interesting guy.
Yep. He'll start talking about it and other things.
Yeah. What other shows have we got? We got Nowdy's Powder Hour.
He's if you guys want to get really nerdy with like sharpening, and you guys want more of like an advanced type of sharpening, go to tomorrow. Go see Naoto. Naoto's a bit of a brainy nerd about this kind of stuff. Me, I just like sharpening. This is the only thing I like, and selling knives. But I'm not really into like getting down deep into like details about like certain types of steels. But Naoto's your guy. We also have Knife 101 with Kevin and Lordy. Mm-hmm. Those guys just shoot the shit with like just talking about anything knife related, or if they have like a topic for that day. They made like fish and like chips the other day, fries.
Yeah, I dropped in the other day and we were discussing the best sandwiches, favorite sandwiches. Yeah, exactly.
So they just drop on by and like just talk with Kevin, and those guys are fun. And they always ask her a bunch of questions, and they just show people's knives on that show too. So it's really entertaining. So definitely gotta watch that if you can. And yeah, that's pretty much the 4 shows that we have available on Knifewear right now. So they're all pretty entertaining.
If you have any complaints as well, you can send them into Chris with a K at knifewear.com.
Chris Armitage.
Yeah. Give him hell. Yeah, he can take it.
You can take it. Yeah. Apparently he bullies Kevin and Lordy, everybody.
But, somebody's got it.
Someone's got it. Someone's got to bully them. And don't forget to dislike and unsubscribe. If you guys have not subscribe, and then dislike and unsubscribe after the end.
Yeah.
Make sure you guys do all of that, because if you guys don't do all of that, we're just not going to have a job here anymore.
We've also got the garage sale coming up, May 17th to 24th.
May 17th, guys. So if you guys looking for some great pieces, some unique one-offs or anything like that, we usually have something called garage sale that runs about a week. First day is always a Monday, and it's basically some really cool stuff that we typically don't carry on a daily basis. So definitely keep that on your calendar and keep an eye on the garage sale, because it's probably one of the funnest times that we have around the shop.
Easily, yeah. I got to see a few pictures of some of the stuff that Kevin had from Kurosaki-san. Ooh, baby.
Really nice stuff.
There's going to be some great stuff.
And it's a lot of fun. All of it's going to be online, like the last 2 guys that we had. Eventually, we'll love to have it in store, but we'll wait for that until that day comes again. But yeah, come on by, drop by the shop there on the online shop and check out the pieces that are probably online right now. Yeah, and that's happening on the 17th. And then also, guys, if we're still doing the free sharpening for all the industry folks right now. If you guys are still in the industry struggling, Vancouver, Ottawa, Edmonton, all the stores, Ottawa, we're doing some free sharpening for you guys. Bring about 1 or 2 knives down to the shops. It might take a while, but we're going to whip it out as fast as we can.
Yeah.
And you guys can just bring it in. Just let us know. Bring it by. You don't have to rebooth. Just bring it by and we can take a look at them. And just let us know that you work in the industry, and then we'll get them done for you.
Help out however we can. Yeah, bring us 1 or 2 at a time. Unless you're also bringing beer, then bring 4 or 5 at a time.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. This only works on the Vancouver.
Yeah.
Other than that,
we got Sharp Knives Rock episode 2 on May 10th. It's a garage sale special. Don't miss that.
May 10th.
Yeah.
You guys want previews?
We're gonna have some fun. We're gonna have some fun bits and pieces on there for you.
Yeah, definitely. Shit, that's pretty much it, eh?
That's it. Yeah.
Cool.
We got any last minute questions here? Let me just go back in.
Questions?
The garage sale stuff will be up on the site soon. We'll have a dedicated spot for it. Yeah.
It's all gonna get put onto the website right now. But it's just trickles down slowly. There's some pieces on there that says like good product garage sale, but you can't buy it, but you can look at it.
Yeah, we're getting all the photos done. We're getting all our ducks in the row. Leave us alone, okay? It'll be there soon.
It's soon, guys. It's literally less than a month away.
Yeah, it's a really exciting time.
Just a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be online mostly. The shops will have a dope selection. I think I'm getting about 150 knives here in Vancouver. But yeah, if you want to tune in on the the YouTube live channel on 9 a.m. the morning of the 17th, all of those Gomers over in Calgary will be doing a big old live telethon.
Yeah. Check it out if you guys can, because it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's going to be kick-ass. Yeah. All right, that's I didn't see any other questions. Let me just give one more look here, make sure we didn't leave anybody out.
No skippy question, nobody.
Yeah, I think we good. All right, thanks a lot for tuning in, guys.
Thanks a lot, guys. If you guys, like I said, if you guys have any questions, just pop them on to hello@knifewear.com. You guys can question us at owen@knifewear.com or me myself at francis@knifewear.com. If you guys have anything about garage or anything like that, you guys can reach out to us. So catch us next time. Catch us tomorrow, Knifewear at now till 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock Calgary time. And we'll catch you guys next time.
Oh, what prescription are your glasses?
These guys?
Yeah.
I have no idea, like 25 to 2.25.
25?
Yeah.
Holy Dinah.
I'm not blind.
Bye.